everyone. Our lesson today is the very important geometric figure, which is called the parallelogram. The parallelogram is one of the very important geometric shapes in our life. What is the definition of the parallelogram? The parallelogram is a quadrilateral, has the following properties. What about these properties? The first property is each two opposite sides are equal and parallel. That means length of AB and the length of DC are equal because AB and CD are two opposite sides. Then they are equal in length and also they are parallel. That means length of AB equal length of CD. Also AB is parallel to CD. By the same way, AD is parallel to BC and the AD is parallel to BC. This is a very important. The second property of the parallelogram is each two opposite angles are equal in measure. That is, angle A and angle C are called opposite angles. Angle B and angle D are called opposite angles. The measure of angle A equal measure of angle C, and the measure of angle B equal measure of angle D. Now I want to remember with me the parallelogram ABCD has two diagonals, which are AC and BD. The two diagonals of the parallelogram are AC and BD. What is the relation between two diagonals of the parallelogram? The relation is the two diagonals of the parallelogram bisect each other. What is the meaning of bisect each other? Bisect means length of MA equal length of MC. Also length of ME equal length of MD. That means the two diagonals bisect each other. Now we have a very important property, which means the sum of any two consecutive angles equal 180. That means the measure of angle A plus measure of angle B equal 180. Measure of angle B plus measure of angle C equal 180. Measure of angle C plus measure of angle D equal 180. Measure of angle D plus measure of angle A equal 180. This is the properties of the parallelogram. But the parallelogram has special cases. The first figure of the special cases of the parallelogram is called the rectangle. The rectangle is a quadrilateral also. The rectangle satisfies all the properties of the parallelogram in the previous. In addition to these two properties, which are the two diagonals are equal. The two diagonals of a rectangle are C and BD. Now I want to tell to you a very important property. Length of AC equal length of BD. Also you can say that length of MA equal length of MB equal length of MC equal length of MD. That means the two diagonals are equal in length. Then we can say that a rectangle is a parallelogram with two diagonals are equal in length. But it is not the only property. We have another property for the parallelogram. The second property of the parallelogram is the four angles of the parallelogram are right angles. That means measure of angle A plus measure of angle B, measure of angle A plus measure of angle B equal 180. Measure of angle B plus measure of angle C equal 180. Measure of angle D plus measure of angle A equal 180. And the measure of each angle of the parallelogram equal 90 degree. Measure of each angle of parallelogram equal 90 degree. Then we can say that a rectangle is a parallelogram with angle. Also we can say that a rectangle is a parallelogram with two diagonals are equal in length. Now we will transfer into the second shape of a special case of a parallelogram, which is called the rhombus. The rhombus has a very important property for the rhombus. This rhombus has the following property. The first property is the two diagonals are perpendicular. The two diagonals here are AC and BD. AC and the two diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular. Then we can say that a rhombus is a parallelogram with two diagonals are perpendicular. It is true. It is not the only property for the parallelogram to be a rhombus. The second property is any two adjacent sides are equal in length. That means length of AB equal length of AB equal length of BC equal length of CD equal length of DE. That means the four sides are equal in length. Then if we have a parallelogram and each two adjacent sides are equal in length, then it becomes a rhombus. Now the property of the rhombus are the two diagonals. The properties of the rhombus are the two diagonals are perpendicular, number one. Number two, the four sides are equal in length, or we can say that any two adjacent sides are equal in length. The third property of the diagonals of the rhombus is the diagonals of the rhombus but the opposite angles. That means, look at the figure ABCD. I want to tell you measure of angle CAD equal measure of angle CAB, because diagonal bisect the opposite angles. Also, we can say that measure of angle BCA equal measure of angle BCA. By the same way, measure of angle ADB equal CDB. Measure of angle CBD equal measure of angle ABD, and so on. Now we will transfer into another figure from special cases of the parallelogram, which is called the square. The square is very important figure from the previous figures, and it has multi properties of parallelogram. The first property is the four sides are equal in length. The four sides are equal in length means length of AB equal length of BC equal length of CD equal length of DA. The four sides are equal in length. The second property, the two diagonals are perpendicular and equal in length. The two diagonals here, AC and BD, and the length of AC equal length of BD, and they are perpendicular. Perpendicular means the angle between them is a right angle. The third property, or the four angles are right. Measure of angle A equal 90, measure of angle B equal 90, measure of angle C equal 90, measure of angle D equal 90, and so on. And also the opposite angles, the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. The fourth figure of the special cases of the parallelogram is called a trapezium. A trapezium is a quadrilateral, has two sides are parallel and not equal in length only. When we have a quadrilateral has two sides only are parallel and not equal in length, then it is called a trapezium. A trapezium here in the opposite figure, AD is parallel to BC. The two parallel sides AD and BC are parallel, but the length of AD not equal length of BC. The figure ABCD is called trapezium. A quadrilateral, a parallelogram, if the two sides are parallel and equal in length at the same time. Now, after studying all the properties of the parallelogram and the special cases, to prove that, I want to tell you a very important remark. When we to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, it is sufficient to prove that two sides are parallel and equal in length. Now we have for you a very important exercise to check on your understand. If you can answer or if you can solve this exercise, then you will understand this lesson carefully. This exercise, by the way, the answers of this exercise at the end of this video. Now the first one, the square is a rectangle in which what? Say yes, the two diagonals are equal in length. The square rectangle, the two diagonals are equal in length and they are perpendicular, because the rectangle, the two diagonals of the rectangle are already equal in length. Then to be a rectangle, to be a square, then the two diagonals must be perpendicular. Then the answer of the question 1 is the square is a rectangle in which the two diagonals are perpendicular. Number 2, ABCD is a parallelogram in which measure of angle A is 60, then measure of angle B, then measure of angle B equals 180 minus 60 equals 120. The sum of the angles of the quadrilaterals equals, we know that the sum of the measures of any quadrilateral equals 360. The rhombus is a parallelogram in which the two diagonals are perpendicular. Each two opposite angles in the parallelogram are equal in measure. The quadrilateral is a parallelogram if the two diagonals bisect each other. The parallelogram whose diagonals are perpendicular is a rhombus. The parallelogram whose diagonals are perpendicular and equal in length, then we have perpendicular and equal in length, then it is called a square. The sum of the measures of the interior angles of the hexagon equals, hexagon means 6 sides, equals 6 minus 2 by 180, which equals 780. The rectangle is a parallelogram in which one of the angles is right. Number 2, the parallelogram whose perimeter equals 24 and the length of each side is 7 centimeters, then the length of the adjacent side equals 24 divided 2 minus 7, which equals 5 centimeters. ABCD is a rhombus, then the two diagonals are perpendicular. That means AC perpendicular to BD. In the parallelogram XYZL, if measure of angle X equals half measure of angle Y, then measure of angle Y equals, we have measure of angle X plus measure of angle Y equal 180 because they are consecutive angles. But measure of angle X half measure of angle Y, then measure of angle Y equals 120. Each of the two diagonals of space X an angle of measure 45 adjacent. Here the space is a square. The answer is a square. The side length of the rhombus whose perimeter equals 42. We have the four sides of the rhombus are equal. Then we divide 42 divided 4, which equals 10.5. The sum of the measures of the interior angles of a pentagon. A pentagon contains 5 sides, which equals 5 minus 2 by 180 equals 540. Now we transfer into another question, which is the measure of the interior angles of the regular pentagon equals 5 minus 2 by 180. Interior over, then means here the measure of only one angle. Then we divide the total number divided by 5 because pentagon has 5 sides. Then the result equals 5 minus 2, 180 over 5, which equal 108. 108. The number of the regular polygon, if the measure of the interior angles, the rule is 360 over 180 minus 144, which equals 10 sides. The number of the diagonal of the pentagon equals 5 diagonals. The measure of each angle of the regular hexagon equals, this regular hex sides equals 6. Then the measure of each angle equals 6 minus 2 by 180 over 6 equals 120. The sum of the measures, question number 21, the sum of the measures of the exterior angles of a triangle equals 360. The measure of any of the exterior angle of the equilateral triangle equals 180. Thank you, goodbye, and good luck.